Yeah, they get pretty big. They get pretty big for sure. Um, my memories that it brings back for me as well. Mostly with the police, because there have been so many instances where I've been protesting here and I've been involved with police, and it's always just an experience that feels really uncomfortable because they just don't listen. They simply don't care, like everyone else with every other problem. And they usually cause more problems. And then when the problem asks you what the problem is, it's such an eye roll moment. And I just don't like keeping it to myself all this time because I don't really gossip. So, yeah, I just had a few more that came to mind, a few more obnoxious ones. One of them, I was at the art gallery in Vancouver, and I was reciting Gary Yourofsky's The Best Speech You'll Ever Hear. I was just going through it, and some guy got offended because I was very loud and I was in a public space. He's like this redhead little wankster with his girlfriend trying to be macho. And he wanted to shut me up. And as always, I'm not there to, argue stupid people. I just do the protest to get through the 50,000 words that some people sit down and listen to. Or they're online. Sometimes I hit way over 1,000 viewers. I have all sorts of animal liberation activists watching. Sometimes there's Vegan Booty, that's Tash Peterson, Stefania Ferrarino, and hopefully I inspire them. They definitely inspire me, but that's what the protest is all about, is about just exposing more people to the best tool that the animal liberation movement has. So he comes up to me and he tells me to shut up, and I just ignore him. And he says if I don't shut up, he's going to hit me, and I just ignore him. And he open palm strike hits me right in the chest for absolutely no reason. So I pulled out my phone and I called the police, and they said, "You should just walk away." And I said, I'm a victim of a stranger attack. There's someone that's hitting me for no reason. And they said, "Just walk away." And I said, "He just hit me again, 150 pounds soaking wet, little dum-dum, do his little rage out." And they said, "Okay, well, where are you now?" And I said, "Well, he's starting to go this way." "Okay, now he's starting to go that way." And he realized that I was on the phone with the police. And he panicked because he had a backpack full of contraband, I'm sure. And he just booked, and I followed him because I don't want to put up with him every goddamn time I run into him. So there should be some sort of record so that I have a case against him. I was purposely, for like safety, when I followed him, I chased him a block away. So I would just calculate where his next turn would go. South of Granville, that's where most of the gangsters are. So that's probably where he would go. And I just ran down, not pushing people out of the way, but I was screaming, "Hey, hey, hey, get back, hey." And people were just naturally just getting out of my way. And evidently after like a block, I saw him like 4 blocks down. So I really hightailed it and got to Smythe. Then I knew there was going to be a really good hangout spot for the like drug users and everything. That's an alley by the Orpheum, which is Seymour and Smythe. And actually, a week later, I saw a dead body there, and then a month later, I saw another dead body there. So it's a really popular spot, and that's where he was. And the police caught up, and because I was on the phone, like giving them directions, and they arrested him because he, assaulted someone. And I told him I was live streaming. You can go on YouTube, search the channel Street Vegan. You have a phone on you. You have the internet. Type in YouTube. Type in Street Vegan. Click on the live stream and watch it back 5 minutes. And he says, so not cooperating. Okay, not cooperating is the lowest form of evidence. I have video and audio evidence, so just watch that. And they did not care. And like always, I said, and I just wanted to get that out of me because these things kind of like ruminate in my head. Like, man, that was so frustrating. Like anytime I think of this, I think that was the stupidest thing. The same, like I was on Commercial and Broadway. This handicapped elderly guy, you're in the wrong neighborhood for this one. And I'm just like, that is so embarrassing. I completely ignored them. That was my usual spot. I've never seen them there before, but obviously they're, running the streets or whatever. Everyone thinks they own the street corner. There's always some homeless person that says I'm ruining their begging, and I was apparently ruining their whole drug transactions or whatever. Anyways, they didn't like me there, and the elderly guy in the wheelchair starts ramming me like with the wheelchair. It's an electric wheelchair, and a cop was right there, and I waved him down. And he just went to the guy. He's like, you gotta stop doing that. And he's like, do you want to press charges? And I'm like, no. I actually said no more than I did yeah. Because even when I said yeah, press charges, nothing ever happened. In fact, when I think of anyone who's ever caused me any injustice, nothing's ever happened to them. Unless I did something to get back at them. Like there was like one manager I had at Hub Kitchen and Bar who for no reason because I was just really smart, really good at my job. I was in the same kitchen as Rob Feeney. I was in the same I was like the pupil of Brian Orange, who is the executive chef for Brown's that wrote their menu. I was running his restaurant. Like, I was a manager at Spencer's Gifts and Cap's Bicycles. So I had a lot of managerial experience, and I knew Ever doesn't have to remember to do cutlery. And I made that change without this manager knowing, and she was really offended because, like everyone else, it's all about control. And, like everyone else, she thinks she knows best, even though she can't back it up because it's all about feelings and not logic. And yeah, she just totally freaked out at me. Oh, you think you know better than me? Oh, this and that or whatever. I've been here for years. Like, okay, well, good for you. You've been here for years. I've been there for years. And do you have any qualms about it? Like, is there anything that doesn't work or doesn't make sense? Because it seems to work with everybody else. And she just ignores that and said, fuck you. And I'm like, man, that is so unprofessional and so not what I'm here for, is like drama. So I got her fired eventually. Basically what I did is I have another one. I was at eBay, English Bay, and I was again just resetting Gary Yourofsky's The Best Speech You'll Ever Hear. There was a huge crowd because everybody was having a picnic. It was a nice sunny day. There were people on this like long 50-foot bench, hanging out, having a good time, smoking drugs, enjoying their stolen bikes and whatnot. And I'm doing my thing. In fact, I was doing my thing about like 50 feet away from them. So like when someone yells at me, I started getting rocks thrown at me, and I called the cops. The cops came with ATVs because they were in the area, and even their own crew, there has to be something more to it than that. I'm like, no. And they're like, you had to have antagonized them or done something to them. Are they like, someone you know? I'm like, no, this is just people. This is just idiots like that. And the police go, well, we've spoken to them, and it turns out that you were yelling at them, which I wasn't. It was all recorded. I wasn't bothering that day. I was just ignoring everybody and going through the words. And they arrested me, and they took me to some random alley and just threw me outside and said, don't go back there. And they also arrested like 3 of the other guys because they were attacking the police. And while I was being arrested, they pulled out like this little multi-tool I have, which has like a 1-inch blade. And he says, oh, you have a knife on you. He goes, why do you have a knife on you? And I'm like, because it's shiny. And his partner with like this big, fat, huge gut, he says some stupid remark like, whatever. And I said, shut up, you fat fuck. And the cop arresting me goes like, oh, we're body shaming now, are we? I'm like, well, you're eating all of these poor innocent individuals and you're getting their fat into your body. So yeah, that's a representation of how disgusting you are. It's disgusting. Another instance that's in my mind, I know there are so many. My thumb, when one of the bricks hit my thumb, as I turned around and I tried to deflect them with my sign. And then I went up to them and told them to get the fuck out of here, and they didn't. And I repeated myself, and they didn't. And it's some like prostitute with her pimp. And I'm just saying that because the guy's like 60 and she's like 20, and they're both just covered in disgusting scars and stink like keyword is pretended to kick at her, and someone was recording and they were like, oh, you kicked her, and they shared it with everybody. And I was just like, I told just like the small group of friends I have, I'm like, man, if I would have kicked her, if I would have made contact with her, you would see her head come off of her body. Like I was like 220 pounds at the time. Like, just look at this freaking calf muscle. I don't know if you can capture that. That was just stupid. And then later, this children's genitals. I said, hey, guy with the sign. And again, this is all recorded. Like my point was, if he's pro consent, then he should be vegan, because no animals consent to what non-vegans put the animals through. And I said, hey, you with the sign. And he comes up to me and I said, what about the mind of the child of the cow? And he didn't understand that wording or something, or he doesn't understand that cows are mothers and that cows have a mind. But he played dumb, or he's just dumb. And he was kind of like antagonizing me, like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, you would get better results if you were nicer. Oh, you're very nice. And just totally ignoring my question until eventually I was just like, get the fuck out of here. And he left. And then he came back for no reason other than to get views for his channel, which got 10 million views, because he was just standing beside me, antagonizing me. And I thought, I can't hit him. I can't walk away because I've sworn to myself I was going to do this protest, and I can't call the cops because every time I do, they make things worse. So I'm stuck with this guy here, and it was just very frustrating. I was on absolutely no sleep, on no food. I stayed up all night watching like pretty much gore videos, like watchdominion.com, and like things that animals go through and all this stuff. So I was super stressed, and I pretended to whack. I swung my foot to him to shoo him away, and that's all it was going to be. But I accidentally made contact and just touched his sign, just touched it, because I was coming back from work and I had steel-toe boots off of him. His microphone fell off of him. He's scrambling around like a doofus, picking stuff up off the ground, and starts saying he's going to call the cops on me for assault. And I'm like, go ahead. I really don't care. And I really don't. I mean, send me to jail. I don't care. I don't care. You're a bunch of violent monkeys. You're going to send me to jail anyways. It's what you do with problems. You just ignore them. You blame other people for them. And yeah, that's exactly what happened. When I went to court, they completely ignored reality. They completely fabricated everything. And they didn't lie, but it was fabricated because they only said half truths. They only said what I did that was negative and not anything that anyone else did that was negative. So it went something like this. Mr. Shvechko swung at a guy. Mr. Shvechko intimidated and threatened him and kicked him. Mr. Shvechko then challenged him to a fight and left. Oh no, they didn't even mention that I left, but that's a good point, that like I left. Or, you know, like there was one instance where there was a girl and she was on the ground punching herself in the face. So I went up to her and I held her hands so that she would not punch herself in the face. And then people called the cops and they said that I was beating her up. And then the cops came and they arrested me. And I went to jail. And I remember this is way back in like 2010. And I was telling the cop in the cruiser, oh, by the way they got me, like I went into a bush and then they said, oh, we have a canine. We're going to send him out to get you because we know you're in there. And then I came out and they didn't have a canine. And I felt so frustrated with that trick. I completely cooperated as always. Was in the cruiser and I told them I literally had a dream that I was arrested by police and that there was an earthquake and I was in the back of a car and that I was stranded in a car. So could you do me a solid, and if like anything happens, you like unlock it before you leave? Just remember that. He's like, yeah, sure, buddy. And what else? I went there and there was a vegan there, and the vegan said that he's in there because he assaulted his roommate because it was his birthday, and just body parts and guts and dead animals everywhere. He gave me his sandwich because at the time, well, at least I'm in here with a decent animal. And at the time I thought he was just being cool using that word, but now I realize it's not assaulting me at all. And I was acquitted, so nothing came of that. So again, just police seeing me as a man and going, uh-oh, big guy, bad. Complete losers. And with this case, there's a million things, like I'll try to slow it down a little bit. So when I was being arrested, I said, lawyer, 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 lawyer. That was all I said to the police, lawyer, lawyer, lawyer. And they ignored it. They pretended that, and then one of the questions he asked me is like, do you want to get a lawyer? And I was quiet, and he goes, nope. And then later in court, they were like, it says here that you told the police that you refuse, that you want to represent yourself. Like, they do these stupid little tricks. It is so pathetic. And saying, like, hey, what about the cows? I'm going to hit you with my sign. I'm going to kick you. I'm going to challenge you to a fight. That's not actually what happened. Like, there was an instigation. There's something in, like, because I'm a security, things that are like of equal value. For instance, sort of like an eye for an eye. Like, if someone pushes you, you can push them legally, etc. And I was just telling, like, the probation officer, what if I was like some sweet little old lady minding her own business on the bench, totally quiet, just smoking every sentence, closer and closer, just antagonizing and harassing, and nobody would help. What if, like, this sweet little old lady would, you know, do the same thing? You guys would think absolutely nothing of it. Like, I feel like I'm being totally typecast here. And then while I'm being arrested, he puts his camera in my face for content. Such a fucking loser. When I arrive, oh, and by the way, as the cops putting me in the paddy wagon, they say, so what's all this about anyways? And I said, well, every animal is an individual. They all have a subjective experience, a mind, a brain. They suffer equally. They have pain receptors, a central nervous system. They all have one life that they cherish. They're all conscious. They're just like us. They have personhood. They are people. Personhood is consciousness, self-awareness from every species. And humans are herbivores. Brian Johnson's the world's most measured and healthiest human being, reducing his biological speed of aging by half. So for every one chronological year, he only ages 6 months. There's the Oxford Vegan Vegetarians Meat Eater Study, the Seventh-day Adventist Study 1 and 2, the Harvard Nun Study. It goes on and on. It's indisputable evidence. The Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, over 100,000 credentialized practitioners that started a lifetime on this, agree that the vegan diet is ideal for the human body, whether you're an infant, you're pregnant, you're an athlete, you're in your elderhood, any race, gender, creed. It's indisputable. The mechanics of it, like all of our anatomy, you know, from the alamays in our saliva to the length of our intestines. We are herbivores. We literally evolved from monkeys. We're literally great apes. Bonobos, chimpanzees, gorillas, they are an animal abuser. And that's my point. And you're a criminal, because it's as if all crime is legal just because they're from a different species than you are. So it's the greatest form of injustice and racism on the planet. And the cop says, oh yeah, well, and you know, just think of any time you've ever had a problem with anybody, they've probably deflected it and just ignored it because they literally don't care. So I get to the jail and they search me for like the third time. They ask me, do you have anything sharp on you? And I say, just my wits. I go in there and I get yelled at for no reason. Like, pull your pants down, pull your fucking pants down. They're roid raging, and all the cops are on steroids. I'm just chilling in the cell, you know, minding my own business. And through the window, I can just barely see, and I can definitely hear that there's a First Nations elderly man, intoxicated, totally vulnerable. His name's Peter. And he was being taken out of the paddy wagon and escorted to the area where they process them, which is just getting a fingerprint, a photo, a name, and going through the pockets. And they tripped the guy. The police pushed and tripped him, threw his face down into the ground, and it just about knocked him into a coma. His face is gushing blood. He's unconscious. And the nurse says he has to go to the hospital. And the cops say, oh, noses bleed. That's what noses do. And she says, no, he has to go to the hospital. And she had to convince the cops to send him to the hospital. I told my probation officer about this. She did not care at all. Nobody cares. Like, nothing comes of this. Just like, unbelievable. I was protesting after this, like a week after, and this guy comes up to me and he says, I'm going to stalk you. I'm going to go everywhere you go, and I'm going to make sure that nobody can hear what you're saying, your message, your protest. I'm just going to talk over you, and I'm going to stalk you. And, he was harassing me. Again, on camera, and I call the cops and I say, hey, this guy's harassing me. He says he's going to stalk me. I can show you the video of it. I just want him away from me, please. And I just want it on record. They come and they arrest me. They just arrest me. They just walk straight, they completely ignore the guy. They just come, put me away. And they completely fabricated that I didn't show up to court when I did. I made every single court date. In fact, I was in court so much that, was sick of me being there so much. So they just made something up. They were like, oh, he has a warrant for his arrest. Okay, I have a warrant. What else can I say about this one? So, yeah, and it was Valentine's Day. So after that, little children. The judge, while I was in the holding cell, because you see them through the TV, he says, so we're going to let you go today, but you have a condition where you can't be around any vendor of any kinds. No street vendors, no hot dog vendors, nothing. I'm like, buddy, I live in the downtown core, a block away from where this incident happened on Georgia and Granville. I'm surrounded by vendors everywhere, so I just can't leave my house. And I laughed at him like, what is this? Like, this has nothing to do with the hot dog vendor anyways. This is some random guy he hired. This is a homeless person he gave a hot dog to fight me, to get him away from him, because he's got some issue with vegans. And the judge says, hey, he's laughing at me. He's laughing at me. You cannot take anything else away from me. Like, look at how I live. I'm a minimalist. Actually, I shouldn't say propaganda, because propaganda is usually a lie that's being spread to favor a party. But just like, I think there's that one comedian, but he's a politician, and he just disguises his opinions as he's like from like the 60s, Carl or something. Well, it's all annoying. Even when I was talking to my lawyer, I talked for 5 minutes straight, gave him all the details, and he says too much information. He wasn't even listening. He would show up late. Sometimes he didn't show up. It's very annoying the way the legal system works. It's just a whole bunch of liars following their script, completely mindless and careless. In fact, when I was there was another guy who went up to a stranger crossing the street and clocked them in the jaw for absolutely no reason, went into a store, grabbed an item, was confronted by a security guard, fought the security guard off, went into the street, was tackled by a cop, beat the shit out of the cop. I saw the video because they showed the video in court. This gangster beat the fucking ever-living shit out of this cop, punched a guy in the face, and tussled with a security guard. And he got the same sentence that I got, which is 18 months probation. And it was my idea to get counseling because I thought that it would be a good tool to go to anger management and have more persuasion to take the high road, because it would just increase my activism. And now I'm actually going to do the course, and I'm going to read through. They give you like a 250-page booklet, and I'll read through it for you guys if you're curious about what it's about. But it's kind of like what everyone already knows with all the self-help stuff on TikTok. He got the same sentence as I did for doing nothing, for telling a guy that's threatening to fight me that I'm going to throw him into the street, which is what the cops said was fine when I did it last time. And then some clown coming up to me and not leaving me alone and me just shooing him away. I got the same sentence as this violent criminal. And it was going to be harsher, but his lawyer pleaded he's on meth, he's addicted to meth, and he's First Nations. And then the judge said, oh, he's addicted to meth and he's First Nations. Okay, we'll bring it down. So just 18 months probation for beating the shit out of a cop, tussling with a security guard, and punching a random person in the face. Now imagine if you're the random person walking down the street and you get clocked in the face and you see this guy get arrested. You would think, oh, justice has been served. He's going away for a long time. Maybe like two years, I would say. Like if I was a judge, I would say 2 years in jail. And by the way, in jail, vegans are a protected class in Canada. You're supposed to have access to vegan food. There was no vegan food at all. So I just starved for a week. I just didn't eat. I made nice with all the inmates because I just gave them all my food. They were loving it. It's a funny thing because you walk around there and people are like trying to sell you things. People are like, hey man, you want a towel? And they're like, try to give you a towel for like 2 pairs of socks and like stuff like that. It's just wild. But everyone's like respectful. Like it's the same thing. It's like, don't act like, suspicious. Like you're like a fucking weirdo and you'll be fine. I was cracking jokes with like the alpha in the first 5 minutes. Yeah, I literally, like the biggest motherfucking guy came, and within like a second it clicked and I'm like, oh, he's asking me if I'm holding like contraband in my anus or something. Oh, there's my alarm clock to go to work in 5 minutes. I really got to wrap this up. I just played dumb and I was like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just an average guy. I'm just stopping by here. Although then when I was leaving, they said, well, I said to them, I'll see you guys probably in a few days because I'm sure I'll do something stupid, which I pretty much did because I was irritating me was going to be, and I knew that cops would be there and I just didn't care. And sure enough, I went back there and the guy was there and he tattled on me and I went through this stupid system. Yeah, it's all just so stupid. I had a lot of points and ideas and things, but I just want to forget it all. Just trust me. It's all a scam. It's all absolutely absurd. Yeah. Yep. I'm just thinking if I just sit here for like 1 minute, I'm sure I can think of another one. They just keep on coming to me and they just keep on frustrating me because it's like when someone owes you money or something and you're like, damn it, they screwed me because they didn't pay. It's kind of like that feeling, but it's all a deterministic universe anyways. Nothing really matters. I'm sure I'll have one. I'll just think of it. Of course, the when you get arrested, they search you and they get you to stand in this machine that like scans the insides of your body and everything, and they see everything. And the one guy, he was pretty cool. He like, I have a cock ring, a Prince Albert, and he's like supposed to ask me to take it off, and I said I can't take it off. It's like on so tightly, and he's like, that's fine, that's cool, don't worry about it. But oh man, it's just degrading. It's annoying, but it's absolutely nothing. Literally a drop in an ocean of the injustice that individuals from other species go through. So that's why I don't press charges on all these people. I never press charges. I say I will to the cops to see what they'll do, and they never do anything. It's just very annoying, and I think this is a good way for me to just vent and get it out. I'm sure I'll think of other ones, but I got all these dogs to feed. I gotta go. I'm going to start recording my activism because I've been really nervous lately with being on probation. Like if I have times in a row that I have gone out, police have arrested me literally 5 times in a row. So, you know, you start to feel like discouraged, but hell, I'm going to go tomorrow and I'm going to record it again. And I'm going to do it every day. I call it vow of loudness. I've made a vow to the animals right this moment, right now. That's all it takes. I will do this every single day. Recite Gary Rudofsky's The Best Speech You'll Ever Hear to the public of my city. And I'll do that. I'll record it. It's just a good thing to do for yourself. I find like a benefit for myself is like it reminds me like Gary Rudofsky's such a breath of fresh air. It's like a good friend confiding in you and saying it's okay, I understand. Like you're not crazy. It's just everybody around you just happens to be crazy, and it's just a great speech, and it makes me feel good saying it. Psychologically, there's like a comfort to listening to the same song or watching the same video. And like the same movie, because you know what's going to happen at the end of the movie. And I feel like it's a comforting, soothing thing. Like it's okay. There's a Yurovsky out there somewhere. So be active. That's all I really got to say. Yeah, I hope, you know, you have all the best and you find the strength to get through in this crazy world with all these demented minds trying to bring you down. I pretend that everybody's vegan, and that's what gets me through the day. When I walk up this door, I'm like, okay, everybody's vegan, because I was at that point where it was just like no expression. You know, people say hi, just completely ignore them. Some old coworker, hey, how you doing? Remember me? Nothing. I just don't care. Like you are, in my eye, I have UV vision. And I still see the bodily fluids, the blood on your hands. Like I can see it. I can smell how disgusting you are. Yeah, they're just monsters. People, they don't think or feel. They're an it. They're not a they. The animals that they think are an it, that are not thinking or feeling, are actually, ironically, the they. They are the ones that are the most sentient and deserving and valuable. Yeah.